Well, hello, it's Corey. It's episode 62 of Coach Barnabas. It has been a long time. It's been a couple of months, I think, since episode 61. And a lot's happened. We've taken some vacation, had some time off, but the last month has been a bit different, and that's really the purpose of this particular video. As I planned, I'm recording this on Monday night, August 11th. I plan on uploading this on Tuesday the 12th, which happens to be, and that's not by design, but it happens to be 1 month since I had a bit of a health emergency or health episode, let's say. So I'm going to go into a little bit of detail about that, but let me first, before I get into that, I want to explain the purpose of this video. I am not the type of person, and as of yet, and like I said, it's been a month, I've not really gone into detail on social media or anything. My church knows about it because my wife was asking for prayer. So my church basically knows what's going on. Those who pay attention to social media, many of them may have no idea. But I don't go out there, and I'm not one who seeks attention, hey, here's what happened to me, and da-da-da-da. Even though prayer is nice and all that kind of, and support is nice. It's nice to know people care. But that's not necessarily who I am. The purpose of this video, of this episode, is not, oh, Corey, wow, blah, 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 blah. I want it's a testimony video. And it's also just kind of an opportunity to keep things in perspective, okay? And so that's what this is about. And maybe you can relate, and that's kind of why I do this, is because it's not for my purpose. It's maybe somebody who will watch this, or somebody you may want to share this, can benefit from it or may relate to it in some way. And that's really why I think, a lot of times we go through things. God doesn't test us. He doesn't put us through things just to be mean, or, things have been pretty good so far, so now I'm going to throw you a curveball, or I'm going to put you up against something just because this will be entertaining. Sorry, there's all kinds of noise going on there. You might hear a siren and motorcycles and everything going on, but I like doing these things outside whenever possible. Anyway, so the purpose of this video is really just to, whole town's on fire apparently. But the whole point of this video is really to, again, it's a testimony, and I'll share what happened. So going back to Friday, the 4th of July, we had a wonderful day. I had the day off, and my wife and I had a wonderful day and just, explored the area, went down by the beach, down by the coast, had a fabulous day. The weather was gorgeous. It was the 4th of July. Just had a fantastic time. And then that evening, got back to the house, and when we were crawling in bed, all of a sudden I just started feeling kind of weird. Like, I don't know, I can't even really describe it, but just something wasn't right. And if you know your body, you know when something's just not quite right. And that's how I felt. And my wife got to go to the bathroom or something like that. She got out, she left the room, and when she came back, I was reaching for the remote control because the TV was on, and I wanted to mute it because, I often do that like we're having a conversation or something like that. So I was reaching for the remote, and I'm tapping all over the place for it. But at the same time, I realized I didn't really have full control of my arm. It felt kind of rubbery. It felt like, if you ever have felt this way where your arm falls asleep and you feel the pins and needles, well, it felt like that, where my arm felt rubbery and heavy, but not with the pins and needles. It just felt weird, just like this thing on the end of my arm, or the end of my shoulder, but I didn't really have full control of it. And Sarah was talking to me, and I wasn't really responding to her. And I can't even tell you exactly why I wasn't responding to her. I think I just was kind of in the moment, a little freaked out. I don't know that I couldn't respond to her, but I just wasn't. So that started freaking her out a bit more. Long story short, within a few minutes, everything was fine. Although I got out of bed to go use the restroom, I was talking to her and everything like that. And I felt better, but I got up out of the bed and I noticed my balance wasn't quite right. I had to lean on the wall to kind of, keep from falling over, whatever. Got my bearings, was able to go into another room, come back, and I was fine the rest of the night. but it was a weird episode. The next morning, Saturday, she wanted to take me to the ER, and I was like, it's 4th of July. I feel fine. I don't really want to go to an ER in 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night on the 4th of July, especially when I'm feeling fine. But the next morning I thought, just to be wise, to err on the side of caution, let's go to the ER. So we went Saturday morning, did a load of tests. We were at the hospital for hours. They did a CAT scan, all this other stuff, and discovered I had what's called a TIA. And quite honestly, I forget what a TIA means, but it has basically kind of stroke-like symptoms, but it's not necessarily a stroke. But it can be an indicator. Strokes can come shortly thereafter if there's kind of an underlying problem. And they didn't find anything. They did the CAT scan. A neurologist reviewed it. Didn't see any reason to do an MRI, and eventually released me. They did the other tests, blood work, and all kinds of other stuff. X-rays even, but felt I was good enough to discharge, so they let me go home. Fast forward a week now. It's Saturday, July 12th, and a friend of ours had just had a baby and was at a hospital in Providence, Rhode Island. So we were going to go visit the baby. She had asked us to come visit. So we drive over to this hospital, and there's a cluster of 3 hospitals in basically one little corner, one little property, basically. The hospital we were going to is called Women and Infants, which is predominantly a hospital for childbirth, prenatal stuff, postnatal, pediatrics, all that kind of stuff. Next to that is a hospital, Hasbro Children's Hospital, a world-renowned children's hospital. And then next to that is Rhode Island Hospital, which is another very good hospital. So as it turns out, we're in the hospital room visiting our friend who had the baby. Sarah's holding the baby, and my legs start feeling really rubbery. Like I can feel it just wiggling underneath me, like it's not supporting my weight. I'm leaning against the wall, and she looks at me, and she could tell something's wrong. I'm in some sort of distress, and she's trying to talk to me, and I'm not responding to her. So she gets out of the chair, and she gets out of the chair, lets me sit in the chair, and I'm basically looking beyond her. I'm not even looking at her, whatever. As it turns out, I was having a stroke. And so the lady who we were there to visit had, pressed a little buzzer to get medical attention, get nurses in there. She said, my guest is having a medical issue. So before you know it, I've got a whole gaggle of nurses and whoever, medical personnel, hospital personnel in my face. And they've got me on a gurney, and they're hustling me out of there. And I'm awake, I'm coherent. For the most part, I'm not communicative, but they're hustling me down the hallway. They get me into an elevator, take me down at least 6 floors. We're on the 6th floor, but apparently underground there's a tunnel system. So rather than wheeling me through a parking lot and through the property outside, to get to the hospital that's around the corner, they take me through a tunnel system, get me, eventually get me into the emergency room of the hospital that apparently has a great reputation for dealing with people with strokes and all of that. So they get me over there, and by the time I get there, within a matter of minutes, it's probably been, I have no track of time. I can't even tell you how long it had been, but within an hour, maybe 45 minutes, maybe plus or minus, I'm now able to respond to them. They're asking me questions like, what's your name? What's your date of birth? And I'm not responding to them. I can't even, it's like I know the answer to this, but I can't answer. And I'm not speaking, I'm nonverbal. By the time I got to the ER and everything else, and they had done, I think they x-rayed me. I think they even did a CAT scan. They did a CAT scan on me before they got me to the ER. Now this whole time, they ripped me away from Sarah, my wife, and left her in the room where our friend was with the baby. And so they hustled me away, and she has no idea if she's ever going to see me again. So she's a bit freaked out. They end up getting her over to the emergency room, and by the time I get to the emergency room, they're asking me, do you know your wife's name? It's like, and by this time I'm starting to regain my speech, and I give her name. They asked for her phone number. I actually was able to give her phone number. So they called her and said, okay, here's where we are. He's speaking, he's responsive, he's fine. But here's where we are. We're in the emergency room. So she was encouraged by that. So by the time I saw her again, I am coming around. But it was scary. It was scary for her. It was scary for me. I ended up spending a couple of nights in the hospital, was there a couple of days, did all kinds of tests. I'll pop a picture in here. This is me getting in what's called an EEG. So they had put electrodes all over my skull, all over my head, which is the benefit to being a bald guy, because they stick these things to your head and they don't have to worry about my hair or, all that kind of thing. So that worked out kind of nicely. So they did that, and they did an MRI, and they were able to determine that it was, in fact, a stroke, a minor one. They also determined that the cause of it was I have what's called a dissection or a tear of the inner lining of my carotid artery. So apparently this is a very common stroke, a very common thing for younger people. Well, and by that I mean people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. So in other words, that's young for a person to have a stroke. So and it's fairly, whatever they mean by common, I don't think they mean like 1 out of every 2 people, but it's the most common cause for younger people having strokes. So I counted it as something of a compliment that they considered me younger. But still, that was the cause of it. And they were confident they could, treat it medically, meaning with prescriptions, not, nothing invasive, no surgery, anything like that, just a regimen of medication and time, and I'll begin to feel better, and the artery will heal. They also found during as a result of the MRI and some other testing, that I have basically a non-functioning thyroid. So they asked me, "Oh, do you have problems with this?" And I was like, well, yeah. And it turns out that, yeah, I have a thyroid that's just like sitting there doing nothing, and probably been that way for years. So now they've got me on medication to fix that, which is like, cool. All right. I had no idea. So it's been quite an odyssey, but after a couple of days, it happened on Saturday. I was released on, must have been Monday, is when I was discharged. And then I spent 3 weeks home from work, just kind of trying to get better and feel better. So now it's been a month. Like I said, as you see this, or as this is uploaded on August 12th, it will have been exactly a month since the stroke. So again, now, here's where the testimony part comes in. We're in a hospital when this happened, okay? I live in a rural area. We live in a rural area. There's no hospital within at least a half hour from where we live. So the fact that I couldn't tell you the last time we were in a hospital to visit somebody or, anything else. I had been in a hospital a week before to, because I had this other little episode that turned out to be a little bit of a foreshadowing. But who could really know? But other than that, I hadn't been in a hospital in ages. It just never happens. So the fact that we happened, all that day, we're doing stuff. I felt pretty low energy, but drove ourselves to the hospital, which was about a half hour, 40-minute drive. Got there, not a problem. Got up to the hospital room, not a problem. But while we were there, and we'd only been there maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes maybe, that's when it happened. So it happened while we're in a hospital. Within seconds, medical personnel are in my face and whisking me away to get help, where it turns out I couldn't have been in any better place. in the state of Rhode Island, certainly, and maybe many places in New England. I don't know. But I was in a great place to get the treatment I needed for the condition I was experiencing. So I see all that as just like, that is, well, we're in the town of Providence at the time. That's the providence of God. That he held me, first of all, I wasn't driving when it happened, so we didn't wreck. God didn't kill us as a result of what we're going through. So it, for Sarah's safety, for mine, for anybody else's who may have been on the road. We were just in Florida a month earlier on vacation, drove, I don't know, 2,500 miles round trip, whatever. Any number of things could happen at any given time, at any given place, where it would have been infinitely worse. It happened while I was in a hospital. And within minutes, I was in, getting, like I said, an MRI, and I've got medical personnel all over the place helping me out. So all of that is just a testimony of God's providence and his grace and his mercy and his favor. And I thank God for that. Now here's a perspective part I kind of referenced in the very beginning, in the intro of this. A lot of people will, I think, in my opinion, mistakenly say, God saved me, he needs me to continue doing what I'm doing, or he saved me because, I hold some sort of importance and he's, whatever. And I'm not a believer in that. I believe God sustains us, preserves us. I've lived longer than a lot of people. So many people die young and tragically and unexpectedly and whatever else. And it's horrible. And I can't explain. It's a mystery of God. And some of us live longer for no merit of our own. It is not due to our merit. But God has gifted us with life. And what we do with it is our choice. We have a free will. I've chosen to live my life for him. And I've chosen to, wherever I am, is my mission field. Whether it's work, whether it's in the marketplace, sitting in a park doing my thing, and there's people all over the place, that's how I live my life. And God has graciously given me more time to do what it is I do. And I'm going to speak boldly about it. Now, what I meant by him adding and writing my testimony is, if anything I've experienced or am experiencing is relatable to somebody, then he's given me, he's embedding me in an area where a month ago I couldn't relate. Now I can. And maybe I can relate to you in a way that's very personal to you and relatable to you. And you say, you know what, I've been there, I am there. I know somebody who's there. And I find this to be very relatable and very encouraging, whatever the case may be. So that's why I wanted to share this. Otherwise, I wouldn't talk about it, but I do see a spiritual significance in it. And it's not because of my merit. It's not for attention. It's not, people are it's just human decency to, I hope you're feeling better, praying for you, all that stuff. And I appreciate it. I don't diminish that in any way. But that is not the purpose of this, to draw attention or sympathy or any of that stuff. It's to just thank God for giving me more time, and I want to use it appropriately. I want to use it for his glory, for his purpose. And that is the purpose of this here video. So I hope that makes sense to you. I hope you understand it. This was not my intention for my first video after a couple of months off. I have other things I want to talk about, and we'll get to that at some point, but I also wanted to share this with you. You may notice I've lost a little bit of weight, which, hey, no complaint there, but I don't know if it's a medication or a result of the stroke, which can happen. It's just messed up my taste buds, and food just hasn't tasted the same. So I've hardly been eating, but I think I'm starting to get past that, so I'll probably balloon up here again before long. But I'm kind of enjoying a little bit of weight loss, so that's kind of a happy byproduct of this whole thing. But at any rate, this is who we are. This is where I am. And I also want to share one last picture. This is my wife. As I said, I was in the hospital from Saturday to Monday afternoon. So all day Sunday, all day Saturday, she was there with me until like 9 o'clock at night. She finally decided to head home. But the visiting hours were from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. And this was my wife. She was there from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Sunday, and she was there at 10 p.m. on Monday and until they discharged me to go home, which was mid-afternoon, I think. And she was by my side. And so I thank God for my wife who loves me by choice, loves me unconditionally. And though it was the last place in the world I wanted to be, it was the only place on earth she wanted to be, was by my side. And even though she was tired, she hadn't slept well, knowing I was in the hospital, it was hard for her, so she was very tired. But she was there in good spirits and such a tremendous support. And ever since, she has bubble wrapped me and made sure that I am being a good patient. So I just thank God for her. And I wanted to share this picture. I had to talk her into letting me use it because she doesn't like any pictures of herself. But this picture to me, they say a picture says 1,000 words, and this picture speaks infinite words to me. And is a reminder to me of how loved I am, which is also beyond my merit. I don't deserve it, but I'm thankful for a wife who loves me this way. And to endure what she endured, went through what she went through, and was courageous, was steady in crisis, even though she was scared to death of what was happening to me. She was tremendous. She was my rock. And I thank God for her. God used her, and I felt his arms around me through her. So I'm grateful. So I wanted to take this opportunity to share that with you as well. So thank you for sticking in there with me. It's been over 22 minutes. I don't usually like to take this long, but I hope the content, the message of this video ministers to you. It penetrates your heart, encourages you, blesses you, inspires you, whatever it does. I hope it's something positive. And that's the point of Coach Barnabas. So with that, be encouraged, be an encourager. I look forward to talking again very, very soon. Take care now.
Thank you for joining the Coach Barnabas podcast. We'd greatly appreciate your support by liking and subscribing to the podcast and setting up notifications so we can let you know when new episodes are available. We'd love to hear from you, so please leave a comment. Make a difference today.